Oh, gross. Okay, yeah, this is a small area. Screens of this cogitator shows a scrolling line of repeating technolingua. Staring at the obscure symbols gives you a headache. We have seen that several times now. What about you? Same thing? Yep, gives us a headache. Gives us a headache.
I won't tolerate weakness.
And gives us a headache. Anything further over here besides these cubic sludges of meat? Numerous wires and pipes run to the filthy cages, which are filled with what looks like a conglomerate of human bodies. You cannot make out who is in the cage, but bright blue sparks flash intermittently in the darkness, while the mass of flesh twitches and shudders. I don't think there's who involved in that. It doesn't look like people anymore. Heinrich casts a scrutinizing eye over the cages before withdrawing his weapon and approaching to examine what lies inside. Careful, Heinrichs. Look at it. Heinrichs gestures towards the cage closest to you. Through the metal bars, you see it truly is a pile of human bodies, or something that used to be. The monstrously deformed bodies have fused together in places, while others were severed using saws and knives, leaving wounds seeping pus and slime, wounds that are agglutinating and sprouting tendons. Rods connected to wires that run to a nearby cogitator bristle across the flesh. One of the human heads turns to you. Mercy! They're still human enough to talk? That's not good. Even attempting to speak causes the mutant pain, but he bears the agony and forces out the words, Mercy, make it stop. We can study them. You examine the pulsating mass of flesh. The creature in the cage seems to be composed of several bodies joined together. You see no sutures or any other means by which the separate parts could have been connected. Among the layers of meat, you can discern large knots of muscle, various limbs, exposed bones, parts of faces, and entire heads. Only warp sorcery is capable of creating such an abomination while preserving its ability to live on. What is this? Heinrich takes in the surroundings and once again fixes his attention on the contents of the nearest cage. I'm beginning to have some idea. The Lex mechanic mentioned the inhabitants of the lower levels who had been imprisoned in their homes. He said some of them were brought here. The cultists did something to those poor people in their own home, and now they are studying the result. They're people, monstrously mutated, but still people. Lex mechanic talked about some kind of slag waste disposal and chaos symbols on machines. What are the archenemy's minions doing to the people of the lower levels? And have you ever seen anything like this before? They're people, monstrously mutated, but still people. Heinrich nods grimly. Yes, this is what warp sorcery has done to them. To be precise, I have seen many mutants whose features have been distorted under the effects of the archenemy, but this is something beyond all imagining. What are the archenemy's minions doing to people on the lower levels? To know the workings of dark sorcery means allowing corruption into oneself, Heinrich scowls. These are warp mutations, no doubt. Perhaps there was some side effect, and that is why they were brought here, to be connected to censors and cogitators. Even fallen tech priests who have rejected the Omnissiah are driven by a perverted hunger for knowledge. Why are they hooked up to the cogitators? Heinrich carefully studies the screens of the computing machines. Lingua technis corrupted by the machine code, I'm sure. It's unlikely we will be able to extract anything of value from their data crypts. Thinking, Heinrich clenches his fists and bites down on a knuckle, and then recoils when the mutant from the nearest cage reaches a hand out to him through the bars. You! A female face watches you from the gloom of the cage. Even though half her head has been turned into a mess of bones and lumpen growth, her single eye looks at you with surprising amount of intelligence. You promised us. Her words are echoed by other voices in the depths of the cages. Heinrich leans towards the cage, but at sufficient distance to ensure that the mutant cannot reach him. Who are you talking to? What did they promise you? Who are they? You took us from the inferno. You promised us a reward. Her face contorts in a grimace, and the creature's lips stick together like melted wax. I'll be damned, they can still speak. They remember the people who did this to them. Heinrich balls his fists into powerless rage. Then he frowns in thought. Perhaps a little biomancy will allow us to draw the fragments of knowledge out of them, or will trigger further changes. Not missing Pascal's sober interest in proceedings, which he is dutifully recording in a data slate, Abelard raises a brow. Esteemed Magos, these are your comrades. If I may ask, do you feel any compassion for them, or at the very least, regret? Regret for the losses that these poor people represent to the Adeptus Mechanicus? Negative. What I'm currently observing is not my tech comrades, but merely their biologically functioning remains fashioned into a specimen of an unnatural perversion of technology. I'm under no directives to feel any affinity for such specimens. What do you want to do? Iconoclast, Heinrichs, let this go. You're only prolonging their suffering, or dogmatic. If there's something that will make them talk, we must use it. What do you want to do? My psyker abilities allow me to affect the human body. It is one of the most effective tools to use against individuals who are resisting questioning. But if you're suggesting that I want to use it, I think you're getting a little ahead of yourself. The effect of warp energy will likely lead to an explosive reaction. I do not know the precise mechanism of this mutation. The result could be even more monstrous than its current state. So we can either put them out of their misery, or we might get information, but likely they will mutate further, and I'm guessing become a fight. Well, if there's something that will make them talk, we must use it. Heinrich nods. Yes, it is possible another person would refuse to make such a choice, but we can use this situation to help the investigation. I'm not going to argue with you. It seems you've made... to me, your mind is already made up. What are you going to achieve by prolonging their suffering? Just release them from this nightmare. No, your mind is made up already. We might learn something useful. Heinrich hesitates for a moment, then closes his eyes and raises one hand. You are enveloped by an otherworldly chill. The massive flesh in the cage suddenly rears up. The mutant wrenches open its glued-together lips and begins wailing frantically. The shrieking is echoed by a chorus of howls and tortured moans coming from the neighboring cages. The mutant changes before your eyes. The tumors recede like an ebbing tide, revealing an emaciated female face twisted in agony. The woman gasps for air, stretches her now mobile neck, and exclaims, "Liar! You promised to kill me. You promised me deliverance. Every one of you. Everyone told me to have hope and the pain would go. Accept the truth. For that it's hope. My only hope is to be freed from this pain. Please make it so. Make it so." A lump of flesh behind her head shudders and sends out smooth, fat tentacles that cover her wailing face and drag it into itself. You feel the pressure in your ears. From the cage, you hear a steady, almost imperceptible sound that fills you with despair and horror. With a sigh, Heinrich lowers his hand and looks at what the creature within the cage has become. A wet, gleaming mass of meat and gristle that no longer bears any hint of its human origins. It pulses vigorously. And that's it? The lamentations of dying people? No, not just that. What it said about hope sounds like a lie of chaos, which it uses to take root in weak minds. I believe the corrupted tech priest repeated this phrase like an echo of what has been instilled in them. Whatever the cult of the Final Dawn is planning, false hope is a key component of their plan. It's a lead, a small one, but still a lead. That's that then. But do you know what bothers me, Rogue Trader? The number of people here. There are too few. The lower levels of similar manufactorums are inhabited by millions. What happened to the rest of them? Heinrich shakes his head. I know I won't like the answer. Let's go. We still haven't done what we came here to do.
It's about time.
This place is steeped in corruption, which means that it must be cleansed with fire down to the last crevice.
Agreed.
Sister, tame your fervor. Your zeal is laudable, but first I must ascertain the intentions of the archenemy, not crush its manifestations without a second thought.
Also valid. Okay, we might learn something there. The data vault. Seems reasonable. The massive cogitator grows out of the metal bulkheads like a grotesque tumor. A hollow roar sounds from deep within the metal housing. Whatever spurred the computer into action, it has enough power to supply a small command center. As soon as your eyes fall upon the cogitator, you feel a tingling in your temples. Every nook, every component of the machine radiates a sense of wrongness. one that is difficult to explain but no less palpable for that. It is as though the construct itself defies the laws of physics and perspective. Heinrich makes a warning gesture, his voice ringing slightly with tension, is threaded with disquiet. Stop, Ignatius. That is a creation of the archenemy. Don't go near it. You have done enough for me and my mission. Don't put yourself at risk now. So he's going to go near it. As soon as Heinrich takes another step towards the cogitator, it emits a deafening shriek like hundreds of metal needles driving into toughened glass, as though sensing the stranger. Wincing, Heinrich approaches the control panel and bends down towards the screen. Despite the heat clogging the room, you feel an ice-cold breeze. Heinrich is clearly using his psyker abilities to try to fend off the pernicious effects of the Chaos artifact. The ominous grace has not touched this object. This mechanism was not desecrated, but born flawed and unnatural. Iron most profane. Pascal's unhurriedly produces a data slate, initiating observation log. Let not fear stand in the path of knowledge. I'm willing to approach the cogitator. If Heinrich can safely do so, I think I can safely do so, even though he told me not to. Heinrich is too engrossed in his examination of the control panel to stop you. You draw closer to the side section of the cogitator housing, which has several thick cables running from it. With each step towards the flickering screens, you're feeling that the cogitator is watching you with rapid blinking eyes grow stronger and stronger. Up close, you see that besides button switches and toggles, the cogitator casing is also covered in strange writing. Study the screens with a logic test. Examine the writing on the casing with a warp test. Look at the cables, step back. Let's study the screens. No, we'll study the writing. That's more our line. What would interest us most. One glance is enough to tell you that these are chaos runes, within which lurks a grim threat to mind and soul. You hastily avert your eyes, trying to wipe the foul symbols from your mind. Study the screens. The cogitator displays a wall of text on its screens. The string of symbols is a senseless mixture of numbers, formulas, and unfamiliar characters. There seems to be no logic to it, and yet there is no doubt that the cogitator is computing calculations on a prodigious scale. Let's follow the cables. The bundle of cables is coming from the broken side panel of the cogitator. They were clearly added after the machine came off the Manufactorum's production line. The wires snake along the floor and disappear into a maintenance hatch that leads somewhere down below. Alright, let's step back. You take a step backwards, and suddenly one of the cogitator screens changes color, becoming a bright yellow. Your eyes are helplessly drawn to the bilious hue. You turn sharply away from the screen, and you can almost feel invisible shackles falling away. The realization comes a moment later. You are not fighting against your own curiosity, but against someone's malevolent will, which has now lost its hold on you. Yeah, we'll keep our distance and wait. A minute passes, and then another. You watch Heinrich examine the cogitator. His eyes scan the screen, his hands darting from the reel to the lever, sometimes hovering uncertainly over the next switch, which immediately receives a coating of frost. At some point, you hear his voice, almost a whisper, barely audible above the clanging, roaring machine. Sacrifices, more and more sacrifices every minute. Heinrich looks at you, his eyes darker now, appearing almost black in his white face. Hecatomb deterrence. The womb of this cursed machine is down on the lower levels. The auxiliary enumerator controlling the system for delivering molten waste under the Manufactorum's main building. This cogitator is fueled by the energy harnessed from thousands of people who are flowing beneath our feet as slag waste as we speak. But I can't even imagine the reason for sacrificing all these people. It's inconceivable. Now that we know why the Fabricator-Censor prized this monster so highly, the cursed tech priest and his associates created something that went beyond the limits of the Omnissiah's power. This machine is designed to process myriad possibilities using warp sorcery. It has almost finished its task. It predicts the future, Ignatius. Predicts the future? How's that even possible? Heinrich, are you alright? Or cut the power supply. This spawn of chaos has no place on my world. Very true, but let's ask questions first. How is that even possible? Do not attempt to gain any insights into the essence of the machines corrupted by the archenemy, at least not if you value your soul. I've encountered the heretics' mechanical abominations before. To truly fathom their nature is to allow a particle of death into your heart. Heinrichs is silent for a few moments. But the fruit they bear, no matter how abhorrent their instruments, the fruit they bear could be useful. I don't know about that. Heinrich stares stonily at the cogitator screen. Yes, let's allow the machine to finish its calculations. I wish to know what precisely the cult's minions are so desperate to see in the future. Perhaps if we were to increase the power, it would be finished sooner. Your influence has made Heinrichs more callous. Has it? Oh dear. Iconoclast. We need to stop the cogitator for the sake of the people still alive down there. Heretical. We need to let the cogitator finish its task, otherwise thousands of people will have died for nothing. No. This decision is on your conscience, Heinrichs. Or cut this power supply. This spawn of chaos has no place in my world. We don't have a dogmatic choice. But no, we need to stop the cogitator. Letting it continue to whatever goal the heretics are doing here is not good. Heinrichs looks at you, his eyes ice cold. Rogue traitor, in the name of the Golden Throne, I'm requisitioning the population of the lower levels of the Manufactorum for the purposes of the Inquisition. Interesting. He's overruling us in the name of the Inquisition. The cogitator screen's flash and the guttural roar in its depths turns into a frantic shriek that seems to contain the death cries of thousands. Heinrichs bends over the keys and flinches as if from an electric shock. His head snaps back unnaturally and you see his lips moving. The cogitator lets out a roar that grows louder by the second. I mean, that seems bad. His head snapping back unnaturally while his lips are moving as the machine's finishing up its task.
Annihilate them!
Good job, Heinrichs. Is that what you wanted? You wanted to let it finish summoning a Screamer of Tzeentch? Again, a level 4 enemy. So just as difficult as that Chaos Space Marine. Yeah. This is worrying. Alright, well. Our melee guys need to get back. Actually, I can put Cassia. That's not cover. Over here. I was gonna say, I could probably get... Since its Scream said it affects a semicircle in front of it, I was thinking moving people to different areas would make sense. So that we're not all grouped together. Argenta. There really isn't any good cover spots for you left. And as for our melee people, you can't be adjacent. Pascal can get on the other side, but I'm fine if he's not. Cassia might be able to use her warp sight, adjusting it to not hit them if they're all on the right side. So let's go straight to giving Ignatius...
I'm afraid not.
Hello? Okay.
I'm not accustomed to being ordered around. I am a navigator, not a servitor.
Light ourselves on fire. I'm just surprised it's a single enemy that we're fighting. That is scary.
Nothing I can't do.
That ends our turn. Yeah, so you can use your third eye to hit just it. Which hopefully will stun it. Oh. Also,
Isn't this a job for the serfs?
We need you to set up your attack stuff.
Me? If you insist, Lord Captain.
Give us all of our bonuses.
I'm not accustomed to being ordered around.
Okay. Then it goes straight to the Screamer of Zinch, who is stunned. Fantastic. Let's start out by lighting it on fire.
All too easy.
Then we'll do a run and gun. And then melt it. Then inflame. It's down to 17 health. And then we will keep it on fire.
Not a problem for me.
All right, Abelard. I guess step forward and attack it.
Tried and tested tactics are the best ones. One viewer target.
Wow, what a challenging fight. Hendrix goes back to the broken down cogitator, spends a while examining the instrument panel, and then disconnects a component resembling a data crypt, which he quickly stows in his cartridge belt. That's what the machine was put into operation for. Countless symbols and numbers containing knowledge of things to come. I hope my specialist will find a way to decipher the corrupted code. I hypothesize that my services will not be needed. Disappointment and resignation are clear in Pascal's voice. You are correct, Magos. I am grateful for the help, but unfortunately, I must conceal the fruits of our labor from you. Heinrich glances around the hall. As you have seen, my caution is well-founded. Pascal's Vox lets out a heavy, static-laden sigh. Restriction recognized as valid. I saw something happen to you, Heinrich. What happened when you touched the machine? And I count on you to share whatever you find. What are you hoping to discover in the cogitator data? I hope this piece of metal was worth what you did. Yeah, what happened when you touched the machine? Heinrich jerks his head and waves away the question, his movements sharp and unnatural. We'll talk about it later, but right now, I don't like any of that. Movements unnatural. Does not feel good to me. Heinrich's eyes settle on you. I must thank you, Ignatius. Without your help and cooperation, I doubt I would have reached the depths of Kiaba Gamma and learned the truth behind my agent's dispatches and reports. I would never have ended up here, and I would never have succeeded in hampering the cult's activities. Dare I hope, esteemed interrogator, that your keen interest in this Von Valencia's world has been satisfied? Oh? Apart from the fact that the world is still seized by the archenemy's corruption, its populace is infected with heresy, and the once sacred machines of its manufactorum have been turned into weapons against humanity? Quite satisfied, yes. My business on Kiaba Gamma is concluded. It is time to return to the mission that brought you to the industrial world. The only thing I'll ask of you is an audience when we return to the ship. Heinrich bows his head to signal that the conversation is over. Yeah, I'm a bit less sure of Heinrich's at the moment. The fact that he has become more callous is not necessarily a good thing. Yeah. And the unnatural... Yeah, him taking unnatural movements worries me a bit of what that exactly means. Alright, let's turn this back to how it was originally. Alright. Let's skip it. Apparently we can't. Fantastic. Alright. up here is where we need to get back to. So... let's toss down our own save and then make our way forward towards this tech priest that I'm sure we're going to fight. The Fabricator-Censor. Upon noticing you, Cubus Delphim straightens. You hear the clanging and groaning of metal as if the pistons and bearings in the Fabricator-Censor's augmented body have fused together. Propellant scrapes and screeches punctuate the air, or punctuate the speech. The probability of navigating your way, of reaching the inner line, was negligible. The primordial truth guards me and my work. Then why is it that this variable has yet to be eliminated? Because I'm crazy powerful? Also, that's scary. Because the schemes of the ruinous powers are powerless against the servants of the God Emperor who are guided by his light. I shall venture a guess, it is because I'm the illustrious rogue trader Von Valencius, conqueror of the Koronus Expanse, and you are a talking piece of refuse. I'm probably going to go with the God Emperor one, but I do find that amusing. You've already cut down... we've already cut down that brute of a preacher who brainwashed you and your underlings. Now it is your turn. Your minions are dead. Both you and your host will likewise fail to stop me. It appears that your masters have turned their backs on you and you are now on your own. No, because the schemes of the ruinous powers are powerless against the servants of the God Emperor who are guided by his light. A gross misconception uncommon among primitive minds. Your existence is but a statistical error that will soon be corrected. You can still save yourself. Let's stop this nightmare together. No, he's too far gone. There's no saving him. I saw the strange constructs on the lines of the Manufactorum. What mad machines are you creating here? Well, they definitely looked like a lot of these pieces, so I'm guessing they're building lots of these. Why don't I just kill you along with your minions and be done with it? Or your humming irritates me. I saw the strange constructs on the lines of the Manufactorum. What mad machines are you creating here? Steel creations destined to serve the designs of truth. Did you see the elegance of their form, their flawless ergonomics? And those are the mere shells. True perfection fills them when they are instilled with the spark of life and granted purpose, to bring their wrath upon the heads of apostates. Once this army is assembled, though why waste words, you will see for yourself a modicum of the splendor that is in store for the Koronus Expanse. The Fabricator-Censor straightens his back and shoulders, and you hear a mounting hum as if from some strange turbines, followed by heavy footsteps and the grinding of metal against metal. Oh, second one. Good stuff. Is it just stepping on and killing those people? Yep. The Fabricator-Censor lets out a binary trill. Witness the weapon designed to carry the glory of the true gods into the darkness of the Koronus Expanse. My shepherd has sent me one of his iron angels so that its very presence may instill faith and awe in the hearts of his flock. Accept the greatness of the primordial truth, united with the might of the new Kiabagama, and perish. For the Imperium, for the God Emperor. Accept this new sacrifice, sacred truth.
Take a knee and bow before me.
Alright. So we have you. Difficulty 6. Okay. Good stuff. Difficulty 4 for the Forge Fiends. Anyone else standing out as uniquely named or potentially interesting? Doesn't look like it. So we've got corrupted technomats that are difficulty 2. But no, the Forge Fiends and the Fabricator-Censor are definitely the star players of this fight. Alright, let's put ourselves into crappy half cover. My favorite. Let's get Abelard out of the way. Cassia, you can go into full cover here. Argenta. Can Cassia go here? Yes. Cassia, you go there. Argenta, you go here. It does put Cassia theoretically in range of getting attacked, but she also can probably do a big third eye blast that direction, which will feel pretty good. Meanwhile, Abelard, Heinrichs, and Pascal. Maybe I should pull Heinrichs away in case I do want to do the third eye attack. In that case, we'll put Heinrichs there. Or we can move them all here. Maybe I can pull off a hit that would hit the Forge Fiend as well. I'm not sure what her range is. We'll have to see. To start out with, though, the usual. Buff Ignatius.
Isn't this a job for the serfs?
Light ourselves on fire. Orchestrate flames. End turn. Alright. Can you... Yes. Not hitting any allies. And you're hitting several of them. But more importantly, you're hitting the Forge Fiend and this guy, which should stun them on their turn. It probably gives them a save. I don't know what the save is, but it seems to basically always work. Though they might be powerful enough that they can overcome it. Alright, let's light you on fire. 35 to 39, 48 to 80. Okay, I can actually do some real damage to these guys. But no, we'll start with lighting you on fire. Fabricator-Censor.
Suits my purposes.
And then orchestrate flames to make sure you stay on fire.
Suits my
Run and gun. Can I melt it? Yes, I can melt it and hit both of them. Fantastic.
all too easy.
And then inflame.
Nothing I can't do.
There's our high momentum. Perfect. We'll give ourselves another free attack.
Already done.
Am I gonna finish off both of them? Okay, he's already dead. The Forge Fiend is already dead. Oh, man. I might be a little bit overpowered. Just a touch. I just barely started and I took out both of them.
Doubt is for the weak.
Man.
Faith without deeds is worthless. I'll do it.
Alright, you take a shot there.
Emperor.
Then claim the bounty. That did basically nothing. Then a run and gun.
I'll do it. As the Emperor commands, I act.
Did I actually mark it as prey? Yes. Okay. Couldn't remember. I could actually give you more attacks. No, you would just get 2 shots. That's probably not worth it. Perfectly balanced game. Yep. Like, I'm not playing on an easy difficulty. I think I'm playing on, like, normal. But perhaps at some point I should have increased the difficulty because... yeah.
Follow my lead. Target well struck.
I suppose I should use some of these other options. Yeah.
I will do my duty.
And we'll endure. Pascal can easily finish this off. It's 7 hit points left. Let's use this ability that I haven't used very much lately that makes the fire hit it multiple times. Mainly because it amuses me. Perfect. Again, you would think these people would freak out and run with how quickly we took out their leaders.
Just a minor setback.
Like, they're working so hard to build these Forge Fiends as an army to take on the Koronus Expanse, and we knocked them out in a couple of seconds. Use that on yourself, as always.
For the throne's glory. Naturally.
Do I want it on them or them? Probably my melee guys are more important.
Let's see to it.
Shield the Emperor. Alright. Who do we have left? We've got 2 guys over there. And 1 guy over here. Let's move you to here. And have you attack him.
I'm done with this one.
And then charge him.
For the throne's glory.
Not quite dead. You were left at 1 hit point. All right.
Emperor, give me strength.
Blast him with your 3rd eye repeatedly.
Me? If you insist, another 3rd painted black.
Technically, you have an action. No. I don't know. Give Heinrichs a bonus. Abelard, there's a willpower bonus. just cuz.
That was insulting. My tactics are flawless.
Alright, let's light you on fire with your 1 hit point left.
Imposing me was your biggest mistake.
Yeah, I feel like that fight was supposed to be harder. Alpha's arc rifle. Cool. Attacks all targets in a 4-cell radius around the target. 28 to 32 damage. That is crazy. Ooh, a special Omniscient Axe. We'll have to compare that to Pascal. Mars Pad and Lasgun I don't care about. And Shifting Combi Tool. Plus 20 to tech use. That's significant. Alright, Pascal. How's this compare to yours? It is an upgrade. Less bleeding, but more regular damage. But you lose this sweep. And you lose the brutal strikes for attacks of opportunity. But I think the more damage is probably still generally more useful. And then plus 20 tech use is better than plus 10 tech use. And lastly was you. If I give that to Argenta over the Flamer, she is able to use it. Alright, let's do our level ups. This is final level of this archetype. Cool. So no upgrade to our ability that I've actually used a couple of times lately. First time in combat, the Archmilitant reaches 0 wounds while under the effects of Steady Superiority or Heroic Sacrifice. Restores 20% of the maximum wounds and loses the effect. No. Till the end of combat, the Archmilitant's attacks do not spend all movement points. Additionally, each attack grants a stacking plus 5% bonus to dodge for 1 round. Every time I attack, I get a plus 5 bonus dodge for 1 round. Because it's like, in those turns where I get to attack, you know, a dozen times. Half dozen time. That would be pretty impressive. Can use both the Heroic Act of the Archmilitant's archetype and the Heroic Act of the Warrior or Soldier archetype in a single combat. We'll go with this one. Dodge bonus sounds cool enough. So then we're going to become an Exemplar, apparently, as our only choice. I guess everyone becomes Exemplars. Huh. Till the end of the next turn, the Vanguard cannot die. Until the start of the next turn, all damage suffered by the Vanguard is reduced by toughness bonus. Until the end of combat, all allies in a 3-cell radius around the Vanguard suffer Vanguard's toughness bonus divided by 2 less damage. Until the end of combat, the Vanguard gains fellowship bonus momentum for each attack that hits them. I would say protect people nearby. Seems the more interesting. All allies in the selected area also gain... What is this ability? Chooses 1 combat tactic... Because I never use it. I always use her other one. Chooses 1 combat tactics area. Every ally inside the area gains an extra turn with 1 action point and 2 movement points. At the start of the Grand Strategist's next turn. For every enemy that was killed in the selected combat tactics area, this action point is increased by +1. Yeah, this is kind of a worthless power. All allies in the selected area gain more dodge, parry, and armor. All allies in the selected area also gain plus 20% dodge reduction and armor penetration. So makes our people better at surviving or makes our people better at damaging. Maximum number of action points granted by taken hold is increased to 5. I'd say get us doing more damage. My goal is to kill enemies quickly rather than survive longer while they remain around. So yours, until the end of combat, all damage dealt to enemies by damage over time effects is increased by 100% after all other modifiers. This effect stacks and can be inflicted by more than one executioner. All toxin burning effects from any source inflicted on the executioner's enemies ignore their target's armor and deflection. The damage of all bleeding effects from any sources inflicted on the executioner's enemies is increased by an additional 30%. It's used. All enemies suffering from any damage over time effects immediately suffer an additional instance of damage from these effects. All enemies in combat immediately suffer burning, bleeding, and toxin, the levels of which is equal to the character's level divided by 10. So all enemies suffer 3 bleeding, burning, and toxin when this is used. Cool. I'd say doing double damage from burning. Till the end of the next turn, the Vanguard cannot die. Oh, it's the same one. Sure. And you, Bounty Hunter. Yeah, you attack every prey in line of sight. Right. Greater percent damage if only one target is selected. Could be very powerful. So I'm going to go for that. Alright. Still a bit more loot to pick up. And now we return to the void ship. Or not. Hello. You bound me in chains and forced me to kneel? I'm not a fan. I am far more powerful than you seem to think I am. Sharp pain pierces your head and the light dims in your eyes. You smell smoke and burning. You feel a wave of nausea. Your legs buckle and your knees hit the metal floor. In that same moment, the manufactorum surrounding you disappears in a whirlwind of mist, ash, and gray shadows. Struggling against the elements, you can barely raise your head to look. Your eyes sting and burn, but through the tears you see it, a colossal silhouette rising above you. The roaring tempest is unable to shake the mighty figure. Who or what are you? In the name of the Emperor, be gone. Try to get a better look at the figure. Who or what are you? Urlon the Cruel. The warrior's inhuman eyes bore into you. I am the master of those who have been felled by your hand in the halls of the primordial truth. I am Urlon the Cruel. The souls of my followers returned to the fount of power they served, crying out for me to cast my gaze towards this sacrilege. And what do I see? Yet another lackey of the Corpse Emperor. It's a cool picture. They call you a hero. An empty word, a worthless pedestal among hundreds like it, all built by the lackeys of the false god in their hubris and ignorance. This pedestal will soon become a sacrificial altar, and you will become yet another reminder to the Expanse that no hero can save it from the truth. Word of your great past deeds has traveled the entire Koronus Expanse and far beyond. The giant's voice causes the storm raging around you to die down somewhat, as if the very sound of his voice is enough to make the whirlwind subside. You glance at the huge warrior and notice on his chest a winding azure symbol. The shades of blue seem to glimmer and mingle together. Where are we? Where have you taken me? I'm the sovereign of Kiaba Gamma. This is my world, not a dominion of chaos, or what do you want with me? Where are we and where have you taken me? This is the bridge that connects our minds, created by the will of my slave, whose fate you should be envying. The psyker is useful enough to me to be left alive. You less so. I assume he's talking about Krunad Votvir. What do you want with me? I want to look upon the one who has disrupted my flock's duties and my master's plans. That warrior from my legion, the Fabricator-Censor. You think of their deaths as a triumph. However, it is but a minor hindrance on our path. There are other worlds that serve our goals. There are other sources of plasteel and adamantine. Revel in your victory. It will change nothing. Nevertheless, the blood in your veins whispers to the spirits that you warrant a closer look. Yes, you are a descendant of the rogue trader whose warrant Kunrad Votvir sought to obtain. By defiling the relic and binding it to himself with the tethers of the Imperium, he was meant to become my servant, a rogue trader who would do the work of the truth. But then you interfered. Could it be that you wish to gain the true God's favor instead? Do you wish to present the corpse's relic to me and serve the truth? Hear your very blood calling, begging you to submit to me? What would you be the point of futile defiance? I can rise to my feet, requires a Iconoclast follower. You waste your time trying to tempt me. It is not blood that defines a person's deeds, only their will does, and my will is thus begone from my mind. I'm Rogue Trader Ignatius, Sovereign of Kiaba Gamma. The warrant belongs to me alone, never Chaos Spawn. The only way you are going to acquire my warrant is by digging it out of the wreckage of my ship. Or heretical, I'm willing to give the warrant to you in exchange for the blessings of your masters. No. Super no. I'm gonna rise to my feet. Another will bears down on you, but as soon as you awaken your own powers, your soul fills with defiant resolve. Conquering the weakness and pain, straining every muscle in your body, you slowly rise to your feet, straighten and stare Urlon straight in the eye. He smiles, but there is no mirth in his eyes, only malicious curiosity, the kind with which one looks at an insect with its wings torn off. This isn't your first time meddling in the deeds of the word bearers. You were there on Rykat Minoris, and so I want to know if you hold it in your hands that which is not yours to hold, and you will tell me yourself. If we hold in our hands that which is not ours to hold. He utters a few words in an unknown tongue over his shoulder, and you feel your head being clamped by an unseen vice. The sensation is familiar, for this is not the first time the shadow of warp sorcery has fallen heavily upon you. You close your eyes and cast aside all thought, and your inner horrors cry out and rise against the will of another. A gust of wind sweeps Urlon's figure away without a trace. The mist around you begins to dissipate, revealing the dark halls of the Manufactorum and leaving behind an oppressive sense of powerlessness. Averlard looks you over worriedly and then sighs in cantankerous relief. That was a close call. For the sake of Holy Terra, if I had lost a second rogue trader in such a paltry span of time, my only opinion would have been to shoot myself out of unending shame. I sensed the presence of another psyker, someone who had made contact with you mentally, then tried to harm you with sorcery. I did what I could. You at least appear unharmed. Can you remember what you saw? It was a Chaos Space Marine. He said something about Theodora, about how the blood in my veins will lead me to serve Chaos. Doesn't matter. The sooner I forget about it, the better. It was a Chaos Space Marine. One of the traitors of the Imperium? I don't think it was he who touched your mind. I wouldn't have had the strength to go up against a psyker from the ranks of those monsters. He might have forced some mortal to do his bidding. Perhaps it was through the same hapless medium that he sensed the deaths of his henchmen. Onyx looks away and frowns. Such indescribable power, to have reached out to your mind at such a distance. He said something about Theodora, about how the blood in my veins will lead me to serve Chaos. Sister Argenta, who has been watching all of this intently, grows pale and makes the sign of the Aquila to ward off evil. Fair. Heinrich stares at you, whether in surprise or anger, you do not know. Then he gives a curt nod. I see. We can theorize later, although I will say, Ignatius, that his words do not leave much room for interpretation. The Manufactorum around you looks the same as before the vision. Maybe the shadows have grown a little deeper and darker. You dust yourself off and continue on your journey through the darkness. Back to the bridge.